Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to go to the New Orleans region, and we're going to listen to a beautiful young lady's journey. Let me tell you about this journey a little bit without giving all the good pieces away. Let's color like it is. But imagine what it must be like to have an autoimmune illness, lupus, having somebody that promised you they would be there to the dying end, find out that you go to the hospital and the person that you gave the vows to is no longer there. Your family and you are trying to stay together, so to speak, but they really don't resonate with you. And you're feeling like you're walking through this journey completely alone. I don't know much about lupus. I know a little bit about the autoimmune illnesses that people come up with. I've heard stories about lupus. But today, this young lady is going to share a very impactful journey that she underwent, how she came out of it, and more importantly, her journey in spreading awareness of such a illness, how she deals with every day getting up, what appears to be on the outside pain-free, that's hidden by a smile, has no you can't imagine what it must be like to wake up and put this back on again and face the world. Welcome to the show, the beautiful
Hi, thank you for
fashion
having
model,
me. Thank
the
you so
beautiful
much.
fashion model, actress, all rolled into one, Lauren Spencer. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you for having me. Hey, y'all. It's nice to be here.
Lauren, before we get started on with your story, tell the viewers a little bit about you.
So hi, I am a single mom. I'm a 17-year-old son. I'm very proud. He's just got really accepted into LSU. Go Tigers. Um, I am 38 years old. I live in Louisiana, born and raised my whole life. I come from a big Italian family full of Italian immigrants. And when I was younger, I was in the movie and modeling industry. And when I had my son, I decided to give up that dream and raise my child and not miss anything. And now that he is going to college, I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things and starting my career back as an empty nester. So much fun.
You mentioned your battle with lupus, and I can't imagine what that must be like. I'm pretty sure there's other things related to that you deal with. But when was you first diagnosed with it, and what was an average day like for you with this? And more importantly, how was you able to navigate? Because you said there were mornings every morning. It takes you hours to get your day started, but it's even more impactful to me because to look at you, you don't even show
Can
signs
tell.
of anything. So what's that like to have lupus and the other illnesses that you're dealing with?
Yes. So anytime you actually have lupus, there could be other autoimmunes tied to it, and typically there are other autoimmunes. So I have five. I have mixed connective tissue disorder, RA, lupus, SLE, which there are three different types. One affects just your skin, and one is drug induced. And if you're lucky enough to figure out what drugs are inducing it, that could be cured. And then there's SLE that attacks all of your organs, joints, tissues, bones, everything in your body. So just to give you a little breakdown on that, I have that kind. It affects your kidneys mostly is some of the things that attacks your heart muscle, different things like that. But once the damage is done with lupus, it's done. There's no reversing it. So you try your best to suppress your immune system because it's your immune system attacking your body.
Mm,
So where other people will like to say, oh, just, drink some vitamin C, the airborne stuff, or
mm.
boost your immune system and all that stuff. That's exactly what you don't want to do. And a lot of people don't realize that because that's going to make you sicker. It's going to attack your body. And unfortunately, it's just not very well known. A lot of people are getting diagnosed with it more and more today. There's a big need for rheumatology and the study of it. So I hope with my platform to bring a positive light to it and to create a support group for people and also, maybe research and hopefully one day there will be a cure.
Currently, your heart capacity is at 60% versus
Yes.
100%. Are there how
The lowest safe percentage is actually 65. So I'm right under that lower percentage that it's safe. I have three leaky heart valves, three different ones. I'm tachycardic sometimes, so my heart will race. It will jump up and have high heart rate. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. You just have to deal with it. And a lot of people, with my career, I love my career. I'm blessed and I'm thankful that I get up every day and able to do it. It is hard. It is very challenging with lupus. However, I just refuse to lay down in bed and say I hurt all day long and do nothing. I don't want to do that. I don't want to let this run my life. And it's hard. And there are some people who are, every case is different and it affects different people in different ways.
mm,
But I just choose as I can for as long as I can to get up and live my life and not let it, I don't even know how much life I have to live. Yes, typically lupus patients live a long life span, but I have a lot of problems now due to it. I'm in stage 1 kidney failure. I have three leaky heart valves. Um, the muscle in my heart is weak. So just things like that, people don't really realize the things internally because you can't see it. When somebody can't literally see a bruise or a broken bone, they can't really resonate with it. So I struggled a lot with family and friends going, well, but you're always out, you're always doing stuff. But when you get those bursts of energy, you try to do the most that you can
mm,
because you want to be productive and you have to use your time wisely when you have good days. And when you have bad days, you have to give yourself grace if you need to lay in bed and rest, because that's about the only thing that you can do to regenerate your cells is sleeping. But
mm.
you don't want to sleep your life away because you're just going to miss out on everything. So it's definitely takes a lot of getting used to and schedule. I love flexible schedules because that helps out a lot, managing everything and keeping things easier to manage on a daily basis. Medicines, stuff like that. Just one treatment. I actually love my treatment that I'm on, but one treatment alone without medical insurance is $28,000.
Let's let's
One.
go let's go back a little bit. That's a lot of money.
Mhm.
Let's go back.
Yes.
Not only are you dealing with lupus, but you still have to maintain a life. And unfortunately, during this, you would think when you go down the aisle with somebody and you say for better or worse, that people will live up to that. But let's go back even deeper. You come from an Italian um, family background, and what was the support system like for you? You said your dad wanted a boy. He wound up having a beautiful for girl. What was that like for you growing up? And were you diagnosed with lupus at that same time that you were born? Did you know that you had that too?
No.
Okay.
Typically, I'm very lucky to be diagnosed early. And how I got diagnosed is I had a mini stroke. I actually have had two now. So lupus, the only way to diagnose is there's 11 markers in your blood for the lupus disease, and it's a disappearing disease. So what happened is I had the TIA, and all of the markers in my blood popped up on the test in the hospital. But by the time I did the 2 to 3 week follow up with the rheumatologist, all my markers were gone. And he's like, well, come back and see me when you're healthy. You cannot be prescribed they first put you on hydrochloroquine, which is Plaquenil. It's an anti-malarial.
Hmm.
And you cannot even get that medicine prescribed to you unless you have the markers in your blood for it.
Okay.
So you can't be clinically diagnosed. without it. So that was challenging. And usually, the disease is more active in, between 45 and your older years is when typically the typical diagnosis is. So I was blessed to get diagnosed earlier on. I had many miscarriages after my son. We didn't know why, but now we know that it was the lupus. So now it's treatable to be able to have more children. But we didn't know that then. So, unfortunately, it caused me to have, miscarriages and I lost children because of it, with not knowing. Um, just a bunch of challenges. But God has a plan. It's not mine, and sometimes we don't understand it. So I chose to stay positive and not give up and just keep trying every day. And that's all you can do is you can either let it break you or make you. And I choose to find the positive in every situation and continue to live my life to the fullest and the best of my ability because we only get one life. And I can be negative and just wallow in my consequences of my circumstances, or I can change the way I play the game and refuse to let it beat me.
Okay. Um, yeah, I know. I see that. We have a
But
bad,
no, when I was younger,
Lauren, we're having a bad connection on your end. You're freezing up. Can you hear us?
oh,
You're
sorry
freezing
about
up
that.
like really bad.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, but you're freezing up on our end. So
Hold on
you,
one second. Sorry.
yeah, she's completely froze.
Is that better?
No, you're still choppy and
Can you
frozen.
see me now?
We can see you, but you're like, you got
Oh, wow.
severe lag.
Um, Here with better.
You
Can you
still,
see me now? Hear me?
yeah, but you still got a lot of lag.
Mhm.
Like there's like long pauses of delay in your thing that's chopping. Does he have a stronger place for a connection internet so it can be streamed? Because you keep blurring in
I
and
just
going out.
connected to the library internet, so it's.
Okay, so where do you guys want to go? Let's do it all over
I'm
again.
sorry.
That's all right. So let's do it all over again because
Okay.
your story you're lingering a lot on your story. So we got to go shorter on the story, and you're not answering some of the other questions. So you're going back to that. So let's start all over again, and let's make the reply short, brief, and to the point.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's do it again. Let's do it like this. Can we just? How can we do this? Let's just start all over again and start from the beginning. Okay. One, two, three. Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to go into one woman's quest to resonate and amplify the meaning of having lupus, the trials, the tribulations, and more importantly, how coming out of not only dealing with lupus, but being married and being mentally abused on top of that and raising a son and the list goes on. You wonder how this woman gets up every day to make a difference in not only her lives but millions of other individuals that she comes across as well as her son. Welcome all the way from the New Orleans area, Lauren Spencer, to the show. How you doing, Lauren?
Hello, how are you guys? Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on.
We're doing great. Thank you so much. You share such a great, impactful journey during the pre-interview. But before we get started, tell the viewers a little bit about you.
Hi y'all. I'm Lauren. I'm 38 years old. I'm from Louisiana, born and raised. I have a wonderful 17-year-old son who just got early accepted into LSU. Go Tigers. Um, I have been in the modeling and movie industry early on when my son was younger. I did movies such as Hot Tub Time Machine 2, Expendables 2, in the campaign and did some, print modeling campaigns. But I decided to put my career on hold to raise my son. I didn't want to miss a minute of his upbringing. So now that he is off to college and I'm empty nesting, I decided to get back into my career, and I'm so excited to do so. And I'm hoping to use my platform for positivity because I have lupus, and I'm hoping to bring more education and insight to the disease, what it is, and to help others.
Sounds like a winner. Let's go back a little bit and do a recap on some of the things that you shared with me that I thought was truly remarkable to where you started at and to where you are at now. You come from an Italian background. Your family came from Italy, if I'm not mistaken, to the
Yes.
New Orleans area. But everything wasn't always peaches and cream in your household growing up. What was that like for you growing up in your household?
It was very challenging. My dad wanted a boy. I wasn't a boy. I'm very much a tomboy though. I think that was a big part of playing my role as a tomboy and loving to do all things boy. I tell everybody all the time, don't let the makeup and the outfits fool you. I love to hunt, to fish, to do all things boy, sports, everything. And I majority have a lot of guy friends because we get along very well. We love all the same things. So I kind of pretty much have that uh, dude's girl mentality. I love my upbringing. Also, was brought up in a firehouse. My grandfather was a fire chief. My uncle's chief now. My brother will probably be chief one day. So I love that I come from a fire legacy family as well. Very proud to be a public servant and serve others.
Now, you wind up getting married and you got married twice. In each one of their relationships, you dealt with a lot of mental abuse, more not physical, but mental. How was you able to navigate that? Because coming from an Italian background, that's just something. I watched The Godfather, man. I saw, Sonny
We don't tolerate
yeah,
it.
Sonny beat the hell out of your boy, man, for jumping on his sister. But how long did you endure the abuse, and what were some of the things that was impacted on you that the two husbands did to you?
So actually, it stemmed from my childhood. My parents were physically abusive, and I actually, not my first ex-husband, but my second one was physically abusive as well. He eventually became physically abusive, mentally and verbally, I mean, emotionally. And honestly, I think in our pre-interview, I was speaking on how I would rather be physically abused than mentally abused because to get that out of your headspace is very hard a hard trauma to recover from.
Mhm.
When you get told something about yourself every day for years and years, you eventually start to believe it. So it was very challenging, a lot of therapy, a lot of self awareness, but it's doable and you can survive and get over it and choose to become positive and have
What
a
do you
positive outcome in life.
what do you mean when you say it started in your childhood, in your household? What do you mean by that?
So, my dad was abused alcohol and drugs, and so my mom, like just core memories of things like that. So my dad, I remember like when I was in kindergarten, he hit me because he said I talked back to my mom, and I had bruises like all the way from my buttocks all the way to the top of my kneecaps. And you raise your hand to tell the teacher because they ask you, has anybody ever done anything in a shoulder? And so when they got questioned about it, he was just like, "Don't you ever tell anybody I ever did that again." That's just like a core memory.
Mhm.
Just to put it lightly, not to go too far into that, but just I believe in corporal punishment to an extent, not to an abusive extent, but and I did use that on my child when he was younger, and but in a healthy way. But it wasn't always the greatest for me. So
How
that was
long
something
was
that I had to endure
how long did this endure? How long were you enduring this? And more importantly,
my
like
whole life.
what did your mom's what did how did were you close to your mom and what did your mom do about it? Or was this kind of like,
My mom was mainly the one. My dad did too, but my dad would encourage my mom to whip me, like, oh, make her listen and all this stuff. And so I guess to appease my father, she would, you know,
who did you have to
I remember one time she hit me across, she took a belt with the belt buckle and hit me across. I had a whelp across the lower part of my back. My papa was like my person and he was my savior. I remember him, very much. I'd run to their
what
house because my grandparents lived next door. So I would run over there and lock the door to get away from it until one of them came home to like help me. Um, so
where
those are
were
just some of
child
the things.
services at? Where were the child services? Child's advocate. You went to school. I mean, usually that opens up a case in the school system to watch out for this behavior pattern or these bruises again. Were you ever like targeted with the system where they had to basically where they were watching you, quote unquote, but not watching you?
No. So my family was very much a public family. And we just handle it in house, if you will. Italians as well. We don't talk about it. My papa literally was my savior. Like I said, he would leave the back door open and I would run over there and um I would lock the door until he got home from work and he would fuss at my mom or whatever and stuff like that. But or her sister, my nanny would. But they didn't want things to be known, so it was swept under the rug.
Why didn't your pawpaw intervene if he
He
knew
did
that this
when
corporate?
he was there, but he wasn't always there.
So it never ended. What was your next move? Because usually when this happens to the individuals, they clearly want to grow up early, or they do adult things like get married, wind up getting pregnant. They do what is called what
Got
I
married.
call survival. So you got married to escape it.
I, I didn't get married to escape it. I was very much in love with my ex-husband, and I mean, it's everything I wanted. But yeah, like I did get married at 19. I was in pre-med and had my son. I was always an overachiever. I was in everything, dance, cheer, softball, hunt, fish, everything. I tried to excel at everything I did because I didn't realize at the time, but it was just a way I wanted my parents' love and affection and approval so much that I just tried to be good at everything I did. And like girl, you got to go to therapy to realize that. You got to go, yeah, you got to get
What
help for that. And now I realize that. But growing up, I did pageants. I was academic, excelled in academics. I was in every club. I did everything just to make them proud of me.
when did you realize that this wasn't working?
It wasn't always bad all the time. So it was spurts. And I think we'll talk about learned behavior because learned behavior, I thought that was normal. You grow up like you don't have any other example. You think it's normal.
You
So
get
it's learned
married at
behavior.
you get married at 19 years old. What was that like for you, knowing that you had already just dealt with what you consider normal activities? Was there anything different when you got married at 19 years old, and or did the same patterns go into the marriage, the first marriage?
He was not physically abusive, and it was fine for a while, but then he was very controlling. He wanted it to be very much so just me, him, and my son,
Hmm.
and not really. And I'm big on family, so I was always with my cousins. Growing up, we had a big family. There's seven of us. Grew up like brothers and sisters, so we always were at my mom and papa's and things like that. And so at towards like closer towards the end of the marriage, then he would just like scream and yell at me until like I cowered on the floor and I cried and I didn't like conflict and I was very much a meek person and I didn't stand up for myself at this point. I wasn't the same person that I am today. And this molded me to who I am today to learn how to stand up for myself and things like that. But it took me a long time to learn that process. It was after my divorce from him that my best friend Rachel, she taught me how to stand up for myself. And I owe her everything for that because she is the best friend that I always needed, the sister that I never had. And she taught me to be tough and stand up for myself, and I had her guidance, and I'm very blessed for that.
So you wind up getting a divorce, but then you get into a second marriage.
Mm.
What was that like?
The second marriage in the beginning was a fairy tale. I dated on and off for 6 years, but I stayed single. Um, and those were not the best relationships either. I'm not really good at those. But again, there goes that, learned behavior, and you don't realize the cycle and the patterns yet until you really get deep into therapy. But treated me perfectly. Was totally different. I thought, oh my gosh, finally it's my time to be happy. I'm gonna have more kids. We're gonna, you know, um, have a better life. He loved me completely. I felt I was completely happy. It was like almost something out of a movie. Too good to be true. I always say that. I always get incredibly happy, and then it just like gets swept out from underneath my feet. So I don't really trust well. Yeah.
Like, what were
And
the
then
things that you were dealing with in that marriage that you said that it started out as a Cinderella story? Then what happened?
he had a little girl when we first got together. I thought he adopted her. She didn't. He was half Asian, so the Asian gene is strong, and so I thought that he just adopted her. He wanted a kid, and I loved her. I've always wanted a little girl too. Kind of I guess to heal that little girl in me that I never had and nurture that. Yes, but so when we went to go get custody of the little girl, when we became serious and engaged, her mom admitted in open court that she knew it was not his kid the whole time, and so we winded up making a decision that to just cut ties, and so that's when the behavior in him changed a lot.
When you say behavior change, physical, mental, verbal, what was happening to
Yes,
you?
all of it. I
Really?
was noticing, yes, cheating. Um, we were going through IVF so that we could have a child of our own. And we lost twins. I wound up having emergency surgery and having the twins. Actually I had ectopic pregnancy in my tubes, and they had to get cut out. And I remember being in the hospital room, and I asked him to help me to go to the restroom, and he started screaming at me and saying like it's my fault that I can't have kids for him and things like that. That's when it first started, and then I kept telling myself, I talked to him and communicated that you need to go to therapy, and like things about Blake are bothering you, and then he would say he would go, but he didn't, and then it just started getting worse and worse, and it escalated to the verbal to emotional to physical, holes in the wall, um, kicking me, dangling by my throat up against the wall, that kind of thing.
How difficult? Most people would say, and I'm just saying, most people will always say this: why
Mhm.
didn't you just walk away?
Well, at that point, we had found out I had lupus and I was sick. I
So
didn't
back up a
have anywhere
minute.
to
Hold
go.
that thought. Hold that thought. So you guys find out that you was diagnosed with lupus, and he was still
Oh,
exhibiting these
yes.
behaviors towards you. Was he aware of what lupus is and the effect that it has on the body? And
He was at the house.
he still proceeded to act the way in which he acted, the physical, mental, verbal, all upon you.
Yes.
That's crazy.
He
So
didn't
my
care.
question is, did
It
you
wasn't
think
always all bad. It was a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. It was when his temper and his anger, when I forced him to communicate about our problems, when I forced him to, work on our problems and try to fix things, is when he got angry a lot. And he would say things like, "You're a stupid B word," or I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here,
yeah, you can
but
cuss?
a stupid bitch. When I caught him cheating on me. Oh, they look better than you. That's why they're cheating on me. He would tell me I was fat and ugly and just all the things. And meanwhile, I'm over here putting my poor little body through everything to have a child of his own for him because that was important to him. And trying to be understanding, that he, I said, I don't know what it would be like to raise a child for 3 years and then them get taken away. Like it's like a death of a child, like you don't, all communication got cut off. It's like you had this little girl in your life for 3 years and then she's gone. So to me, it was like parents and grief, that's a lot of things to unpack, and people experience that differently and they grieve. The grieving process is different for everybody. So that was one of the reasons I didn't want to just give up on him. And I don't like, I want someone to never give up on me, no matter how hard it is, because I feel like in this day and age, in this society we live in, people don't truly know what it is to not give up on someone. You can love somebody. Love is a choice, it's an action. To be in love with somebody, that's different. That's a feeling. And love is a feeling as well, but it's also an action. And you can choose to love someone.
So let me ask this question. I'm just playing devil's advocate. So did you think that it's normal to be in a relationship with a guy that verbally, mentally, and physically did these things to you and know that you had lupus and you were still trying to justify logic for hanging on to this? I'm trying to understand, what was your logic? Or was this more like this is all you knew from your childhood, so you just felt that this is normal and maybe you can make a difference in his life? I'm trying to understand this. And then the second part of the question is, when you shared with him you had lupus, what was the heart to heart talk that you guys had? Or did he even really care that you had it? Pardon me?
He, he did not care. Um, a lot of my lupus, and the things that I've been through with that have been downplayed a lot, mainly by more friends and family than anybody. And it's really sad because, like I said, like people can't see your illness. They can't see your pain. Like I'm in pain today. Today it's raining and I'm hurting all over, but I'm here. Like I just can't let it run my life. Like I would not be able to do anything if I did that. And um, you just I wound up developing a high tolerance for pain, but I'm trying not to get off subject. Yeah, so no, I'm very big on loyalty, and I just and I'm very convicted in my religion. I'm Catholic, so I'm convicted by God, like divorce and stuff. And I didn't want to fail at a second marriage. There were so many reasons why I just wanted to continue and try to be the person to help him. Like I'm his wife. I'm supposed to stick with you and help you through hard times in life. I didn't put up with it. I addressed it every time, and I said I was not putting up with it. There's a difference. Like I don't just sit there and let him do it and don't say anything or whatever. I didn't ask for the abuse, but at the same time, um, I feel
When
like
does
it's,
it when did it become, when did the blinders come off? I mean, we hear this with women all the time, and I get it. You value your religion, stay in the relationship, but any religion that tells me if I'm a female or a man, because men get abused too, that I gotta sit there and deal with this abuse, and I've already dealt with it in my childhood. I'm dealing with it in this, to the point that I have a disease that can kill me, because when you start weakening the heart muscles and you become subject to other illnesses and stuff, and this guy is clearly, or this individual is clearly showing you no value, when does religion get thrown out the door versus, you're putting yourself first? Because I don't hear you putting yourself first. I hear you adapting to everybody else's uh uh um views, but I don't hear you really taking accountability that, it wasn't your fault. Nobody deserves to be beat, disrespected, and more importantly, this is your husband that didn't even, that you said he didn't even really pay attention to the fact that you got a life-threatening injury that can basically sooner than later take your life, and you still decided to stay under religious persecution.
no, not under religious persecution. I'm just very convicted. I wanted to be able to walk away and say, I tried every single thing to make this marriage work because I feel like in today's society, people do not value marriage. They don't value the promise you make. And I'm, like I said, I'm very much an old soul. I'm Italian loyalty, like convicted for these things. And so in my mind at the time, no, I know I don't deserve that. I never did, but I loved him. And it wasn't, there was one day I cheated on me and I caught him and the next door neighbor. And I literally just wasn't even angry. I wasn't mad. My friend, my best friend Rachel called me. She's like, "Why are you so calm?" And I was like, "Because I knew what was going on. It doesn't surprise me anymore." And like at that moment, I just literally just felt peace come over my body, and I was just like, "There's nothing left to fight for." Like I did everything. I fought for it, and now it's just gone. Like there's nothing left. So just let it go. Like, and I wasn't in the best mental state. When you're going through abuse, you're not in the best mind frame. So, it's a lot of factors that play into that that a lot of people don't understand once you're in those situations. I'm not making an excuse for it. I chose to stay and work things out. I wanted to say that I gave it my all and I did. And he just didn't appreciate any of it.
What was his
So
reaction
he
when
doesn't
you had,
deserve it.
we know his reaction among with the pregnancy, but what was his reaction with the lupus? Now you've been diagnosed with lupus. You got to now do your research. You got to try to deal with the abuse in your household, the uh um the whole idea that your life is really about to change because you've been diagnosed with this. What was his response when you said I got lupus?
Well, he had to come home. He was in the military, so he had to come home from his annual training um in the middle of it because I had the stroke. And he really didn't care. There's really no response to it. He didn't really know a lot about it then, and I didn't know when I first got diagnosed, but just every time a significant event would happen with it, it's just like it's not that bad. You're not dying. You're like people would just think that I was being over exaggerating about things, and it's really not over exaggerating.
What was a
But
moment that the lupus really took a turn for the worse in your life? Because you're dealing with something. Anytime you deal with something that affects the heart, that's a major factor. And don't rule out the fact that you had several strokes along this journey, which is even more so messing with your brain, messing with your
yeah,
heart. What was there ever a moment that the lupus really took you on a life and death battle? And was he there beside you? And if not, who was and what was that like for you if he was or wasn't there?
actually, I was working at a hospital, and I was leaving to get some medicine and go home. I'd finished a 16-hour shift. And one of the nurse practitioners saw me and I was like walking crooked. Like my body was veering, but I felt like I was walking normal. He's like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm headed home. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I'm not feeling the best." He's like, "No, you're not. You're going to the ER." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He thought I was having a stroke again. And I wound up having what's called brain vasculitis. So
Mhm.
that's where your brain swells. The lupus was attacking my brain. And at the time, my insurance was giving me problems for pre-authorization for that very expensive treatment that I get. And so, which was the hospital's stuff. And I wound up being in the hospital for a whole week. They gave me steroids, which steroids are the only thing that helps with the inflammation. However, it's a lot of damage to your kidneys, your heart. That's a big thing. Like, they gave me bags of steroids. Nothing was making it go down. And I remember him fussing because I asked him to bring me Chick-fil-A and come visit me. And he would just say, "I gotta go home. I gotta go with the dogs," which that was not why I was going home. It was just an excuse. But yeah, very much a fight. I was in the hospital by myself. Didn't have hardly any visitors. I think my mom and my grandma came once. But I was very much alone that whole time. It was my ex-husband was did not bring my son to see me. It was that was like a very lonely and significant turn in my lupus. Like I was scared that I was gonna die.
You mentioned your
And
son.
then like,
You're very close to your son. Congratulations on your son going to LSU. This is the first time you will hear me rep LSU.
Thank you. Go Tigers.
The first time you hear me rep LSU. But
Yeah.
congratulations for your 17-year-old getting accepted into pre-med at LSU. With that said, how was your son dealing with all this? Did he see and hear and witness the abuse that
Some of it,
mom was
not
going
much.
through?
Yeah, I tried very hard to shelter him from that. And it wasn't consistent abuse daily. There were times when he was nice and there were times when he wasn't nice. And sometimes I had to shield him from the abuse as well because he would try to step in there and discipline him. And I'm like, if you can't control your anger, you're not disciplining my child. He was never allowed to put his hands on my child, one, because he couldn't control his anger. And if I felt that his punishment was warranted and CJ was being disrespectful, I would back him up. But if it wasn't, just because he was in a bad mood and he wanted somebody to pull rank on or something, I didn't let that happen. I'm very protective over my child, and I would never let anybody, do anything like that to them. So yeah, I got to the point with that at the very end, and so
You're laying in the hospital, and now sooner or later, you got to realize this shit ain't working. This shit ain't working. What
mhm.
was the epiphany moment of going through all this that you was like, I have to start taking accountability for the shit that's going on. You're dealing with something that's very serious that can take your life at any given moment. You had to go to a moment where you're laying in that hospital asking yourself, what happened to the guy that you married for better or for worse? You can't get no worser than what you're going through. Does the light finally go off in your head?
Mhm. Yeah,
What was that
I knew
like?
it was happening. Um, Honestly, it was depressing. I was very sad and upset at that point in time. Also with the lupus, you struggle with mental um, depression a lot, because of all the things you're going through, and you might not have a good support system. And it's hard. It gets hard, but
First, let me
you
say,
know,
I know this is difficult for you to come on and share your story. I know your mission. I know your mission is to advocate for lupus, is advocating for domestic violence, is about advocating for mental health. A lot of great things. And my hat's off to her. I know it's difficult to share this story, but I want the viewers to resonate, and you're definitely doing that. And we can say all day long what we should have done. We can say
sure.
it all day long.
Going back, yeah, absolutely. Where I am now, I've come a long way. And I've had to grow and come up with a lot of things in this year because even in the divorce, he was very narcissistic and he locked us out of our house, threw away a bunch of our clothes. There was a lot of things that we went through even this past year dealing with that. And I've had to overcome. I've had to figure out a lot of things in a short amount of time. And
You lost your best friend, your confidant, and your pawpaw. What kind of support group do you have now moving forward? Because lupus is something you don't get over. It's
no,
it eventually does its job. You have to
yeah,
really take every day, like I tell people, you treat every day like it's your last, and
truly.
you're definitely doing it. But you lost one of your greatest support allies, which was your pawpaw. What was that like, and what was he like to you?
That man, I'm sorry, I get emotional talking about him. But he's the man in my life that's hung the stars and the moon, the one man I can always depend on. So it was really hard to lose him. And it's hard. It's been very hard. I lost him when I was 23 to cancer. And I try really hard to, he was a great role model and parent in my life because he was very much like my dad. He raised me. And he would sit there and say, okay, let's assess the situation. What did you do wrong? What could we do better? And I tried really, when I missed him a lot, I would just dig deep to those moments. you know, to where I can hear him saying, I would sit on the back porch with him. He would always make me make him a pot of coffee and bring him his coffee, and we'd just sit down and figure things out. Maybe not always be able to help me monetarily or whatever, but he was always there. And I try to do that for my son too. I value that as a parent. I think that's a great thing that you can do for your children.
What are some of
And
what are some of the things that you had to
because you
manage this illness that's filled with pain? You share
yeah.
with me what it's like to get up. I can only imagine. Seriously, I can only imagine, and I'm pretty sure the viewers is the same. But how did you manage to navigate a never ending illness to still be able to try to keep as much of your life intact? Because it with each episode it afflicts and begins to destroy vital parts of your body. But how do you navigate? Tell me what's a day like for you getting up and moving? Because like you said, people see this, and I'm not saying it's a facade. It's your way of dealing with pain, because nobody nobody can resonate what you got because they don't have it. But what
Right.
like for you?
So in the mornings, it takes me usually about 30 minutes to get unstiff and move my body. Like simple things that people take for granted every day, like dressing yourself. Like my hands hurt so bad. Like my joints just ache and it's hard to just move them sometimes. My knees, my legs ache being on my feet all the time, being in high heels for modeling, stuff like that. Um, just different things. Like sometimes I feel like I got hit by a bus and my legs, I have a lot of I have four slip disc in my lower back and a bulging disc in my mid back, and so sometimes I'll get neuropathy and I can't feel my legs, and I have to walk around to get them to go in, and just different things. But you do what you got to do. I try to stay healthy. I eat healthy. I eat clean. I work out when I can. I do things to be proactive, to try to help with some of that. But there's just some things you can't avoid. And a lot of people think you can, and do the best I can on a daily basis. And that's all we all can do. So I'm really appreciative of those friends that, try to understand and have conversations with me about it to try to like get me to explain it to them. I have a really, really close cousin who is my best friend, and she also has lupus. And so I have a great support system in her. We talk a lot. We're very close. And I have some friends that I'm very close with that have it. And I tell everybody, if you don't want to talk about your situation in public, because some people don't like talking about it, please DM me. Please ask me any question, anything that I know. I would be happy to share with you. I've been wanting to start a support group where we meet like once a month, like maybe you'll get more greeters or something at the Mexican restaurant, and just you can vent to people who know about it. But I have a great friends who have been amazing in my life. I'm so blessed with friends that have become family.
Lauren,
You don't get to choose your family.
I didn't mean to cut you off. What's the life expectancy for someone with this particular illness? Is
It varies. So normally people with lupus who treat it live a normal age range life, like 60s, 70s, 80s, just depends on the damage and the things with my heart condition and that kind of stuff. Just a little bit more at risk for some things. I could die of a massive heart attack or stroke at any minute. But my family and him, my ex-husband used to just be like, whatever, blah, blah. But realistically, we can all die in a car accident. We could die in a wreck. We can die with this. It just puts me a little bit more at risk, and I have to be a little bit more cautious of what I do and how I take care of myself. Just like with anybody who has heart issues or anything. I'm not trying to, discredit any other illness or disease or anything, but I also like to take into accountability that it's not just some kind of thing you brush off and say, oh, well, well. I get a little aggravated with people like that who say that to me, and I learned to just not take it personally. And if they don't want to try to understand or how I feel, or they don't care about my feelings, then I don't need them in my life.
this can be a financial drainer to have an illness like this. What's that like
You
financially
work to
be
live, literally.
pardon me?
You work to live, literally. All copays are expensive. I have a specialist for every organ in my body, like a specialist, a neurologist, just for migraines, and a regular neurologist for the lupus, a rheumatologist, a heart specialist that I drive 2.5 hours to see, but good doctors are hard to come by. Um, anything you can think of, we have a specialist for it. And copays are expensive, and medicine copays are expensive. And you are on a lot of medicines on a daily basis. A lot of people don't see the ins and outs of that. They just see what they see. And everybody's like, oh, you're living your best life. You're always out. You're always doing things. That's my job and that's my work, which I'm great at doing.
Mhm.
I do. I put a smile on my face. I choose to do that. I choose not to sit there. Nobody wants to hear all day long. They don't care that, oh my God, I'm dying. Like my joints hurt, it hurts to move my arm, or I could barely, my head is hurting so bad right now, like I could barely stand up, or just things like that. It's just chronic pain that's never going to go away. So I choose to find the positive in the situation and do my best to live life to the fullest because you only get one life and mine could be cut short at any moment. So I want to make the most memories and laugh and remember the good things. And I want people to remember me happy, not sad and sick all the time.
What is the one what's the end game for you? I know you're getting ready to launch your own platform to bring awareness to lupus, domestic violence, and overcoming. But there's more to you than that, and you're going back to modeling and acting. But what's the end game for you? You've been through so much, you've overcome so much, and once again, thank you for taking the time out to share the awareness of what you've gone through, both emotionally and dealing with lupus. But what's your end game here? What do you want people to get out of today's story?
I want people to know that no matter how hard of a life you've had, that no matter what life throws at you that is challenging or hurtful or something that you just feel like I used to say all the time I felt like I was drowning, like you, and then you come up for air and then just something else is just pushing your head back down underwater. I used to feel that way. I used to have that mentality. But you know what? I chose to say, you know what? This is not how it's going to end. I write my story and I refuse for it to go down like this. So, if anything that anybody can take away from today is there's always something to be thankful for. So, find something in that. There's a lesson in your trials and tribulations, whether it's to increase your faith, to show you just how strong you are. I'm a lot stronger than I thought I ever was,
Mhm.
a lot. Um, and I have really great friends to remind me that I am a beautiful person and I have a good heart and that I'm there for them and there are good things about me. And I'm so thankful for that. And you can always be there from somebody and be encouraging. You never know what somebody's going through. So have a little grace, give a little grace. Give yourself grace too, because we're hard on ourselves more than anything. But everything in your life that is meant to destroy you, you can 100% overcome it. And you don't have to let that be your outcome. So if anybody takes that away today, I hope, even if it's just one person, that I hope to turn them around to a positive look and figure out a way to change their situation.
Lauren, thank you so much for taking time out to share once again such
Um,
a story. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.